Hello, welcome to game 3 in the Allies tournament here, the first match. We've seen Battle Plan before, so we won't talk about it, but we have a few extra cards here, new cards. There's Barbarian on the top row, top left. I think this is a strong attack. It just trashes the top card of the deck, and then your opponent has to replace it with something. Doesn't care what it is, it just trashes it. I think it's a strong, not the greatest attack in the game, but I think it's up there. Capital City is a brilliant village. Plus card, plus 2 actions. Then you could discard 2 cards for coins and then convert these coins into cards. So you could effectively see 3 cards with this one city. Great, that's brilliant. Lets you connect things much more easily than other villages. Look at the old classic village on the board here. Contract is a silver, but it also nets you a favor. And you may also set aside an action from your hand to play it at the start of your turn. So it gets around some dead drawn actions, which is good, which is helpful. You have Mountain Folk as our ally this game. At the start of your turn, you may spend 5 favors for +3 card. Nice to have +3 cards at the start of your turn, but how am I collecting 5 favors? I only get 1 per contract. They aren't coming from anywhere else. They won't come from the forts either. So that probably will not come into play here, the Mountain Folk. I should mention too that the rulebook states that you should only play with one ally. Don't play with multiple allies, even if multiple liaisons show up. Alright, so we can get back to the kingdom now. The tent, we'll get to the tent as we've been doing with those rotating piles in turn. The top card is the tent. We'll see it when it shows up, which is right now. Haha. Silver, and you may rotate the forts here. All the forts, a garrison, a hill fort, and a stronghold. Again, we'll see them in turn as the game moves along. And you could top deck the tent, which might be helpful sometimes. Maybe not all the time. Anyway, so here I was looking to build double tactician. I like double tactician decks. This is the only time in the match that I felt like I knew what I was doing. You look for all the cards that have coins on them. Barbarian, Capital City, tent, and then you think, all right, can I connect all of these with a nice double tactician thing? We have Temple to trash, we have Dungeon to help line up cards. We have lots of draw. We're cool. There's even coin in the Clash pile. The Archer, remember, was +2 coin. So we're cool for double tactician. I think lots of actions, lots of draw. And we have sufficient trashing to make it work. So not much to be said about that here. The question is how to open. So I want a dungeon. I like dungeon. Dungeon is a very good card in my eyes. The question is, do I pair it with a tent to act as a silver, or do I pair it with a temple to trash? That is the question for me on the 4 here. In the end, I go for the tent, I believe, and then I will get the temple later, is what I figure out. Why? Temple cuts up your hand. You play a temple, and best case is you trash an estate and a cop out your hand, and then what are you left with? 2 cards, and you can't really build anything on that turn. And with these tactician decks, you don't need to have a very thin deck. Tactician draws 5 cards for you. Combined with the dungeon, you see in 7 cards. You probably have double tactician stable, even if you are a bit behind on the temple trashing. Was my rationale here. So the dungeon is obvious, I think, for both of us. What is not so obvious is the temple versus tent decision if you want double tactician. So I go for the tent, they go for the temple, and we will see how things proceed here. So Sean doesn't see any of their opening cards here. 3, I would pick up another dungeon here, but you could go for a battle plan if you want. I don't really see that being useful. They go for a second tent, which I find is reasonable. There's village on the board, so you could get both tents in play, and it does potentially hint that they want to have some control over the fort pile. You know, maybe get a key fort, buy it, and then rotate it away from me to make me wait a turn or 2 until I get it. I have a much better turn 3 here, gets me up to tactician. Alright, so here I could top deck this I choose not to. On top decking, this here guarantees that I get double 5. So this is a neat idea with the tent. If you see it early, here, because I had the dungeon in play, it was for sure double 5 on turns 3 and 4. But without the dungeon, maybe you hit double 5 because you get to top deck that silver. It's like you have 2 silvers in your deck. Not actually, but it can perhaps mimic that effect. Temple trashes for sure, and exactly what I described with the temple happened. Just trash and pass it back. So no building on that turn. Alright, so what did we do? I did end up top decking the tent because I wanted the double 5. I drew into the tactician, however, so I'm not able to play the tent. And we obviously take the tactician over the tent there. Alright, 4 for Sean is going to be a village. Remember, they have the 2 tents, makes sense. Tactician sees my whole deck here. See, I have not trashed anything but a combination of dungeon and tactician lets me see all the relevant cards in the deck. Tent, not going to rotate to Garrison just yet. Why are we not doing that? I don't want to reveal it for them. Garrison is decent. You'll see it soon. It's a silver and it'll draw some cards. So I don't really want to give them that yet anyway, until I could capitalize on it. Here, 9 is going to be a temple for sure. We need the trash. And a capital city, much better than village. It will help me find my tactician much more quickly. So again, Sean is able to trash a couple more cards here. So ahead on the trashing, of course. Gets up to 3. Could be village, could be dungeon. Goes for another tent. Capital city, discard for coin, draw. I love that. I love that. I'm able to see the tactician because of that. Tent comes down and I play the tactician. I didn't really have to play the tent. I mean, I get to top deck it, but I'm drawing my deck with tactician anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And Sean starts on the tactician plan there now. So I have to be careful. They have a thinner deck than I do, so if they do manage to catch up to me, it'll be a problem for me, I think, because they'll have better control over the deck. They have more tents than I do, and they will be able to rotate those piles, get more money, have a much better tactician deck if I'm not able to capitalize on my advantage here. Still no rotation. My advantage is that I have a capital city, which could get me money, and I've been able to play my tactician a couple times now for some big turns. Last time it was 9 and 2 buys, here it's 7 and 2 buys. So here is going to be a village and a tent after much agony. I wanted a dungeon. I wanted the second dungeon, really. I like to have duration cards symmetric, which is part of the reason why I love double tactician decks. But I don't think the second dungeon is doing that much for me. I think the tent is better because... Oh, I buy the dungeon. Oh, I betrayed myself. That should have been village and tent, not dungeon and tent. I don't have the actions to play both tent, and temple. But I take the tent anyway. So that reveals the garrison by itself. We didn't rotate the piles, huh? So this is something to keep in mind. If you just go through the pile like a normal Dominion player, you get to the one below it. So here's the garrison on board. We didn't rotate it, but we got through it by buying all the tents. So now that the garrison is on top, that might influence Sean to do something. They choose not to rotate, just leave the garrison and get a second tactician. So I don't have a second tactician yet. That's critical. If they are able to get double tactician up before me, that is going to be a problem. Lots of terminal collision there, which is why last turn should have been village and tent. I do make an interesting play here, I think. I discard the tactician. Which is... No, okay. I was thinking about discarding the tactician so that I could buy the second tactician. Instead, I opt to play the tactician. Sean also plays their tactician here. So I discard a couple cards to get money from the capital city. Not going to use it for draw, of course. Tent, I'm not going to rotate. Trash with temple. I get up to 8, which is going to be, I need the village. Absolutely need the village. And second tactician for me here. Discarding on top deck and the tents do not matter with a deck this small and tactician in play. Alright, so Sean has their double tactician set up and they have it before me, but critically, and we realize this in the call, they don't have the money to continue building while playing double tactician. So they only have 4 coin in action cards. They rotate past the hill forts into the strongholds. Hopefully I bring up those cards in time so you can see them. But here, if they want 5 money in actions, they have to not play their tactician and pick up something like a capital city. So they choose to not play the tactician. They had it in hand, or even if it was top deck, it wasn't the worst thing in the world because they need the extra money from the capital city to build while playing double tactician. If you have 6, you could buy more capital cities, you can buy barbarians, you can buy strongholds, all of which gives you more money to continue building and developing the double tactician deck. Capital city, I will use it to draw here actually, because I would like to see my tactician, my second tactician. I'm not able to line up all my money there, so I just play the tactician and pass it back. Sean gets down the 10th capital city for money, and they told me in call here their hand was 10th and tactician, so again they cannot play the 10th and the tactician because tactician needs you to discard something from your hand. So they could opt to just play the tactician and perhaps pick up a garrison instead, which is what they end up doing, I think. So yeah, the tactician comes down and they go ahead and get the garrison, which is fine. It's not the best card to put in the tactician deck. There's the garrison. +2 coin. When you gain a card, add a token here, and then at the start of your next turn, you draw a card for how many tokens you have on it. You don't need the draw because tactician draws for you, but the silver every other turn is probably better than nothing. So they get the garrison, passes it back now. Alright, so here I am able to see all my money, unlike last time the tactician came around. So we will discard with the capital city for coins, not use the coins for cards, get the dungeon in play, just to have some symmetry going. Do I want to rotate? I would like to rotate into hill fort and buy a hill fort, but I think there's a better 5 cost on the board, and it's called Barbarian. Yeah, it's called Barbarian. So here, my plan is to forego the play of Temple for Barbarian. I don't have the actions to play all the terminals, but I don't need to play all the terminals. Temple isn't important. You saw there, I'm seeing everything, so I don't need to trash anymore. I will continue to trash in time. There's the Hill Fort. Hill Fort is a gainer, very nice gainer as well. It gains the hand if you want it to gain. So Sean gains a hill fort and a village. Very good good turn for them there. Get my dungeons in play, get the capital city in play for the actions, discard for 2 coin, and we get our barbarian out along with the tents. So my barbarian hits a capital city. So I knock 2 coins out of their deck, which is a big deal because they were already struggling with managing money in the tactician deck, and I took 2 coins out of the deck, and the garrison is in play, I think. So again, they are in the awkward position of only having 4 coin in the double tactician deck. Not great. So they would kind of have to pass this turn and wait for the garrison to come back around next turn. They do get some compensation from the capital city though. They can gain a cheaper action card. They opt for the temple, which, I mean, what else would you gain? You probably gain a village instead. I don't know. A second dungeon. You don't need it. I just like it because of aesthetics. So they take a while to realize that there is actually another part to the attack of Barbarian here. And they go for the the temple just to get ahead in points, I guess. And they could also trash it with their next temple. Yeah. So tent, don't rotate, tactician. I thought about the hill fort, but no, I want to break their deck into two pieces. Sean was saying in the voice chat here, so if the barbarian hits my tactician, that's just game over, right? Then I thought about it. He was right. It is true. If I hit the tactician, that's effectively game over here. Hill fort gains a battle plan. Interestingly, battle plan can rotate any of the rotating piles, not just the clashes. They go to rotate the archer anyway. There's the archer again. Apparently, I didn't put the hill fort up. So we'll have to reference the time when the garrison was up so we could look at that and the stronghold. I don't think we bought any strongholds in this game. Okay, so there's the stronghold rotated back to the garrisons. Temples to trash. Yeah, there's the awkward situation where they don't have money in the double tactician deck because I got lucky with the barbarian hit there. And what do you gain here? The archer obviously is what they gain, which is why they picked up the battle plan, right? Tactician, dungeon, and we proceed to continue breaking Sean's deck here, and that does prompt them to resign. We break an archer, so we get money out the deck here. Again, not good for them. They don't want to see that. And we break their hill fort, so the gainer is gone, and that prompts them to resign. So that is the end of game 3. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.